We're actually going to tag team the rest of the evening. First up of our Glitter and Mayhem pairs are Maurice Broaddus and Kyle S. Johnson. Maurice has written hundreds of short stories, essays, novellas, and articles which have appeared in such places as Asimov's Science Fiction, Cemetery Dance, Apex Magazine, and Weird Tales. He's the co-editor of the Dark Faith anthology series and the author of the urban fantasy trilogy Knights of Breton Court. He lives in Indianapolis with his wife and 2 boys, where he teaches creative writing to students of all ages. Kyle lives in Dayton, Ohio, and drinks more coffee than should be humanly possible. He's taught English in South Korea and published short stories in such places as Dark Faith, Where Thy Dark Eye Glances, and Pseudopod. Reading from their story, The Electric Spanking of the War Babies, please welcome Maurice Broaddus and Kyle S. Johnson.
Oh, sure. I blame vodka. Someone explained to me what the theme for this anthology was, and Kyle and I happened to be at a writer's retreat, and we had also discovered this thing called gummy-flavored vodka. So we bought a couple bottles of it, and we just started playing Parliament Funkadelic for like the rest of the weekend. I don't remember much about that weekend. But we have a transcript, apparently, of what got produced during the course of that weekend. So, I'll let you start.
Okay. The Electric Spanking of the War Babies. Everything was inextricably tethered to the box in George's closet. He stood on his tiptoes and let his fingers find the familiar edge of the old shoebox on the top shelf in his closet. He pulled it down carefully and carried it over the bed, where he laid it with quiet reverence. Though it had become a weekly routine, George never lost sight of how important the ceremony of dressing was to him. Clothes made the man. After a moment of silence, he popped open the lid and withdrew his most prized possessions, his well-worn yet still fresh pair of robin's egg blue quad skates adorned with rhinestones and geometric formations. They were his talisman, his key. A Dr. J poster hung next to the one of his namesake, George the Iceman Gervin, behind him. They were his childhood heroes. He'd grown up wanting to ball just like them. The ritual, however, felt every bit as if he was turning his back on these childish things. He was ready. His 2-tone blue bell-bottoms hugged him tight in all the right places. His sideburns trailed down to his chin. He tucked a pick into his sculpted afro, leaving only the raised fist that was its handle visible. All that remained were his shoes. He slid the first one on, the familiar waves swept down over him. Before he lost himself, he paused and shouted toward the crack in his bedroom door. "Going out for a while, Mama?" From behind a curtain of beads which separated the rooms down the hall came a muffled cough, and then her voice, weak and half asleep. "Oh, is it Thursday already? When is this week gone?" "Yeah, it's that time again." "Be careful, baby. The war is almost here," she whispered. "What'd you say, Mama?" "You have fun now, okay? Don't be out too late." "Sure thing, Mama." George tried to ignore how tired she sounded. She'd been hustling all day to feed his brother and sisters. He couldn't sleep, but he couldn't help but think that they'd be better off with one less mouth around to feed. George returned his attention to the second skate, sliding it on easily. Pulling the laces tight, he rose to his feet. The energy coursed through him. He felt blue electricity. He felt alive. He felt free. Looking over himself in the mirror, George tugged the wide collar of his polyester shirt and watched himself disappear into the person he became every Thursday night. He was no longer George Collins. The transformation was complete. He was Shakes Humphreys, the baddest mofo on 8 wheels.
The Sugar Shack was an oasis in the riot-torn city. No matter how angry folks got, burning buildings and tearing up their own stuff, they left the Sugar Shack alone. It was sacred ground, but it wasn't a place for heroes. Everything was so dark and gritty in those days, one long shadow drifting into an endless night. This wasn't how it was supposed to be, a broken world filled with broken people who reveled in their brokenness. A world populated by anti-heroes, misunderstood villains, and heroes with feet, legs, and torsos of clay, where those who stood tallest fell first. Part of him remembered an echo of how things used to be, of a time where men and women were proud and bold, which confused him because this was all he ever knew. He put it down to a childhood dream, to something he'd read in a comic or seen on the television in his youth. Something he'd lost himself in, lying on his belly on the living room floor while Mama was at a revival meeting. The streetlights burned to life on either side of the street, guiding Shakes in like an open arms of a neon goddess. A few kids ran past him, trying to make it home or risk getting a switch for being caught out too late. Though rough, the neighborhood was home. Whether he was George or Shakes, he stood tall as the world would allow, had always done everything he could to help out his little brothers and sisters. He felt like the hood thanked him in its own way by keeping him and his mama safe. But from the moment his skates touched the asphalt, he knew he was being watched. He scanned the shadows, anxious but not wanting to betray his cool. Whatever stalked him waited. They're spying on us. A man knocked over a trash can in the alley. With their satellites and drones and eyes in the skies, we can't hide from them. Don't look up. That's how they capture your face and run off with it to another world. The man stumbled toward him. Can I get $1, young blood? What for? Shakes knew his answer from the booze on the man's breath. His information about the revolution isn't free. No one believes me, though. No one ever believes me. Belief is the key. Don't look up. Got it. Shakes handed the man $1. The old drunk stuffed it into his pocket and offered daps, an appreciative smile and slurred, good looking out. Shakes accepted his offerings. Stay strong, bro. Shakes hustled into the skating rink. His name rang out as soon as he entered. The neon pink words, Sugar Shack, bathed the back corner of the rink. A mural of the solar system covered a full wall of the building, lit up by the cascading lights. George rapped with some of his boys, slapping palms and clutching hands in the secret handshakes of the initiated. The DJ raised his fist in salute, the rhythmic bobbing of his head persistent. Our very own star child, Shakes Humphreys, is in the house. Show him some love, boys and girls, because he's all skate. The strains of the barcades bumped through the speakers. With a series of crossover moves to remind him of who he was, Shakes eased into a groove, and his boys fell in step with him. They soon formed a train, initiating the intricate dance routine of the Temptations in precise lockstep, and they made that rink groan. A series of figures stepped from the shadows. It took Shakes a few seconds to process what he was seeing. See, the brother at the front was protected by a hard plastic shell adorned with panels of neon lights and buttons. Everything was fiery pink. Except, despite the seeming bulk of the suit, his movements were smooth and natural. Where a face should have been, Shake saw only his reflection in the obsidian sheen of the orb fastened to the raised neck of the armor. And who is this dude? Some sort of spaceman? The others emerged from the darkness, their suits identical, except for the yellow color. Their hands each held what appeared to be a child's toy, like a Nerf gun, except with a purple polymer for the body. Despite the resemblance, Shakes knew the playtime was over. Sweet Christmas, Shakes muttered. Two of them covered the front door. Another stood by the rear exit. No one reacted to them, as if only Shakes could see them. Three more emerged from the shadows by the wall, Three more emerged from the shadows by the wall of the lockers, muttering a low chant. Psycho, Alpha, Disco, Beta, Bio, Aqua, Dulu. Psycho, Alpha, Disco, Beta, Bio, Aqua, Dulu. Psycho, Alpha, Disco, Beta, Bio, Aqua, Dulu. The rink was covered by a thin layer of mist that rose like a flood, reeking of lemon-scented Lysol. The leader spoke behind his mask, the voice modulated to sound like an otherworldly theremin. Your time's up, sucker. High time you come with us. Make it easy on yourself. You don't want to get tough up in here. The head spaceman fired into the air. The rink erupted in chaos. Tables overturned as people scurried for cover. People tripped over one another, rushing about blindly. Screams drowned out the music except for the throbbing bass line. A hand clapped down on Shay's shoulder. He turned to find a fine sister wearing a fox fur coat and hot pink pants, revealing her bare midriff. Her matching pink sunglasses trimmed with glitter tucked into her afro puffs. For all of the surrounding panic, she was ice. My name's Malia Grace. She held her hand out to me. Come with me if you want to fun.
Malia melted, her skin slowing like a wax giving way under its own weight. Shakes raised his hand, but it pooled, rain streaking a windshield and 100 rivulets. He tried to take Malia's hand, but they merged together, the bodies falling into a commingling mess. He tried to hold on to her, find some grip on her reality, knowing they'd mix into a single bowl of cosmic slop to be poured down the drain, discarded and forgotten. He resigned himself to their ultimate dissolution, hoping maybe this time the light hanging at the end of the darkness would be kinder. Shakes opened his eyes. His head pounded, his stomach queasy, but he tried not to throw up on the chair, his throat tight and dry as his pants clinging to Malia's behind. And with that image jolting him into full consciousness, he forgot his thirst and tried to find his cool. His chair faced out over a throng of people in the club beneath him. He wasn't in the sugar shack anymore. That place was too packed, too clean. The building seemed like a hollowed-out warehouse. Metal gleamed along each side of the 3 tiers of space like the polished ribcage of a huge beast. Gaudy lighting, fuchsia, olive, purple, flashed, pouring over a sea of bodies beneath him. Every last person was dancing, moving, loving, and grooving. Far removed from judging eyes, these people knew that they were out of sight. Everything was sweating, even the room beaded with condensation from the rising heat. Shakes realized the room he was in was a huge clear bubble suspended somewhere above the 3rd level. The stage was at the far end. The 6-piece band on it wove through an up-tempo rendition of Pop That Thang. A double stack of what appeared to be Marshalls, triple stacks of Ampeg SVTs, and a chorus of speakers pulsing as one great wall of music. On a separate stage above the fray was an oversized set of drums, but like no kit he'd ever seen before. Nearly translucent, each pounded kick produced rhythm as color. It had the bass line that brought him back around, a defibrillator shockwave through his chest, like the thump, thump, thump of a brand new heart. He knew Malia watched him, so he strapped on his cool again and turned his head back slightly. You didn't have to drug me. I'd have come quietly. All business, she passed on the lingering innuendo. Oh, baby, I didn't do a thing. My man, you flat out faded. You missed all the action. A brother in a pink coat and a chartreuse bell-bottom set. Stars and crescent moons had been shaved into his head as if his soul streaked through the cosmos as he bobbed his head. But the rings on his bare feet seemed too affected, as if he were trying too hard to create a look that he wasn't entirely comfortable with. He was slick with perspiration and trying not to show that he struggled to get his breath back. Don't make it sound so glamorous. It got thick in a hurry. We lost one of our own back there, and we don't have many of us to spare, Malia said. Shakes, Weary Nation. Weary gave him a head nod. You look a little rough. You may have caught some of their steam. That shit'll fuck you up like a blast of LSD. Shakes caught his next words in his throat and turned back in full toward the people below, whooping their appreciation as the tune ended. Who were they? Afronauts, Malia said with a matter-of-factness to her voice. But don't you worry, sugar. That man's up there to see you in a minute. Just sit tight and it'll all be explained. The lights changed, stayed there, bathing the masses in an otherworldly green. The band wasted little time, the hordes bleeding out, jumping right into some tower of power. Oh man, I love this song. Love it. Shakes turned toward the heart of the bubble room, toward the figure striding to the long zebra print sofa in the middle of it. He was lithe and graceful, majestic in a shimmering golden vinyl jumpsuit that seemed painted on him. The platform shoes he glided in on made him tower like a gold titan. How'd it go? Malia asked. They tightened that ass, the gold man said. Yeah, I bet they were stroking on that, said a man in a buccaneer hat from which long braids snaked. He wore matching buccaneer boots, but the only other items he sported in between were a diaper and a smile. In a long chain of motion, smooth enough to have been rehearsed, the golden man snatched a drink from the hand of the buccaneer, knocked it back, and flung the glass away before reaching the couch. When he got there, he stopped and looked it over like it was offending him, shook his head in disapproval, and turned to face Shakes. The table between them sat low and was covered with LPs. Hot Buttered Soul, Mother Popcorn, Stand, Intervisions, the essentials. It's a fitting tune, you know? For this situation we have ourselves here, so I just gotta figure it out. You drunk as a skunk, maybe you're loose as a goose. Or maybe you're high as a fly. I don't have a damn clue what you're talking about. Shake swallowed the saliva pooling in his mouth from his still sour stomach. Hands on his hips, the golden man leaned over the table and inspected Shakes. Something in his face softened. To Shakes, it almost looked like surprise or maybe relief. Or maybe you're the real deal. He turned to the buccaneer who had taken to inspecting his own muscles in the doorway mirror and shooed him out.
When the door closed, the golden man reached behind his back and yanked a string from the vinyl jumpsuit, releasing a hidden girdle built in. His midsection bloomed, full belly pressing out against the gold, stretching it to its limits. He sighed and plopped himself down on the couch, throwing his feet over the stack of records and sending some spilling to the floor. So you probably want it straight. You have no idea. Yeah, I can dig that. The golden man stroked his belly as if in his final trimester, still getting used to his bulge. What the hell is going on here? Shakes asked. At the steel of his voice, Malia took an aggressive posture, but the strange man waved her off. Shit, you really have no idea who you are, brother. I know exactly who I am. Never been in doubt. No, you don't. Not even close. So you one of them cats. You practically glow. You ain't Shakes. Yeah, I know about that name. No, your mama called you George, too. But that's not how I know you. Oh, no. See, you're the inheritor of the Funkenstein spirit. Intergalactic master of funk, emperor of the groove, ambassador of the rhythm, the heart and soul of rock and roll, Martian prince come down from on his obsidian tower of Mount Bump, Dr. Funkenstein. And I've been looking for you for a long time. You hired a mug. We don't have much time. The golden man planted his feet firmly in the shag carpet, stiffened his spine, and leaned forward. He was going for serious, Shakes knew, but the whole act played just an inch shy of being cornball. It was when the man took off his star-framed glasses and Shakes saw it there in his eyes that he shut his mouth and opened his eyes, and opened his mind. I'm tired. Every night I go out there to that crowd, tripping off the music. We're out there doing our thing every night, making promises, all about that sanctified testimony. They never ask questions, you know, because they want to believe. So they believe us, believe the things we say, and we let it grow. When we hit the break, we let the whisper start. Man, I think I hear the mothership coming. But I'm just out there faking the funk, man. All hype, no love. It was a time when I could hear that mothership coming too. It's been a long time now, and I'm just an imposter. All because we need them to believe. Believe in what? In all of it. In the mothership connection. In the Funkentelecon. In the Star Child. In you. Their groove powers us, and we want to go home. We need you to lead us there. He pointed a multi-ringed finger out to the bouncing masses. They're the fuel, you're the engine. You know, prophetic pronouncements never went down well on an empty stomach. Shakes never thought there'd come a time when he'd actually crave Sugar Shack's chili fries. He didn't know how he was supposed to feel. Hearing the story reminded Shakes of that one time at the barbershop, you know, when he was a kid. He'd listen to all the older men huddled in the corner as if they all belonged to a club he wasn't a part of, discussing the mysteries of life he never quite understood. You know, mostly women. They said things with such certainty like how ladies loved full beards. All George wanted after that was to grow a full beard, to prove that he could hang. But his hair came in patches. So he'd study his face in the mirror, lift his chin, examine that soul patch on the side of his face. Next time you have to go to the bathroom, the men at the shop would say, dab some pee on your face. Hair will come in thick then. Of course he believed it. Then he came out stinking of piss, onto the peals of laughter, and it wasn't after that he was taken for a sucker much. So look here, Agent Double O Soul. No, we can't explain it to you. The golden man looked tired all of a sudden. You have to experience it. I'm into something I can't shake loose. Malia, don't be scared, you ain't no punk. She motioned for Shakes to follow, and he'd follow her shake anywhere. Malia led him towards the crowd below. The Buccaneer moved to the Golden Man's side, cinching him back into his suit in preparation to take the stage. When they reached a smaller bubble that would transport them to the first floor, Malia leaned into Sheikh's ear. I can see why he believes in you. The Star Child's been talking you up, and I didn't believe it. But now, yeah, okay, I'm on board. Yeah? Yeah, for sure. How do you know? It's just one of those things. Can't explain it. You just know when you know.
The crowd hushed. A track on pause, waiting, breath bated as the Star Child slithered to the microphone with a whispered word. His fingers wrapped slowly around the mic stand, taking it as surely as he would his manhood. Confidently, sex everywhere. Everyone turned on, and his lips moved, forming the hiss. Shh, I hear that? And they roared their approval, and they would. Oh, yes, they could. I think I can hear some. Yes, way up there. Way up there. Oh, yes, they heard it too. It's out there. Finger erect, pointing up towards space. Can't you hear it? Moving out there beyond the stars. It's looking, oh, and it's powerful, but it needs a little help. And they swayed in anticipation, wanting to know how they could aid the cause. Oh, you see, the mothership relies on a sense of smell. That's right. And it needs a pickup on your funk. Kinetic. The hand hummed behind the Star Child, kept them on their feet, the pulse of the bass not giving them a chance to sit down, their words brought to life, their feet stepping through them. Sacrifices to the altar of the funk. We need this funk uncut if you want the mothership to find us, children. Their eyes rolling back, their mouths moving like the Holy Spirit falling down on them, causing them to speak in tongues, chanting the words, Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua Delu, Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua Delu, Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua Delu. That voice is rising. No, I don't think you understand how far out there it is, moving faster, so far out there, so you gotta funk it up better than that. The crowd writhing, building toward it. I want to get funked up. We've got down here so long, too long to be trapped in the zone of zero funkativity. So long now. From way back, kings and queens and presidents and cabinets and dictators and real figures. And the crowd fed it back, thrumming like an organic bass drum set in the temple. Oh my Lord! He exploded. The crowd swooned. The chant burst forth. Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua Delu. Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua Delu. The words hit Sheikh's ears and found familiar there. Something distant, some far off place, somewhere proud. The crowd hit its mark, achieving climax and riding it down on the hook of the backing band's bass line, and the Star Child turned his back to head off stage with a little more dip in his hip, a little more bounce to the ounce, picking up a little bit more what he was putting down, smiling to no one in particular. They crowded around Sheikh's off stage, maybe without meaning to, maybe on purpose, his gravitational pull absolute. Their eyes tracked his every twitch and breath, their gazes filled with something expectant, as if even to watch him was to be enlightened. Sheikh's flinched but didn't buckle. Their scrutiny unsettled him, leaving him with feelings of both vulnerability and being crept out. Like having garden gnomes watch him undress. Like they'd scoop him up and slam him down onto an altar at any moment, plug the knife in a little bit deeper, draw some more blood out for the good cause. But he had plenty of practice putting on cool that he didn't have anymore. You ain't from around here, Sheikh said. No, we're not. We're reality explorers. Fucking cosmonauts, the Star Child said. Afronauts. Like the one who jumped us? No, funketeers. We're about peace in the groove. Afronauts? They're a different school cats entirely. We all access the groove the same way. Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua Salute. The Star Child closed his eyes, lost in a moment, to different effect. They take our message for weakness. They see love and dance as a plague, and they're the cure. The war crept nearer, Shakes whispered. At this point, no one remembers what incursion into whose space started things. There's always been a rivalry between the Star Child and Professor Barek de Groove, Malia said. They're both Leos. Man, we were like brothers back in the day. We came up together in the same band. We had all those hopes and dreams, wanted to make music no one had ever heard before. And we were good, too. No one could get with us. Then everything got funked up, not in a good way. We got caught up. We each had a song to sing, had to go solo, do our own thing. It tore up the group. All anybody wants to remember after that is the hurt. Star Child's attention drifted far away, seeing it all again, feeling it once more. For as accomplished as he was at faking the funk, he couldn't hide his pain. Our reality was obliterated. We pushed through what we could, and whatever made it into this world resonates in things of music, of fiction. There were stories, rumors of a child set down, Malia started. Just hype. Starchild didn't want to go any further, but Shakes could sense something. All that's left in dance, the rhythm, and making love, and partying past your mama's curfew. That's all we've got left, and we're hoping it's enough. There are some out there who are attuned to it, agents of the funk, if you will. Music, love, the groove, it awakens something way down deep and lets them see glimpses of what they were, lets them dream of what we could be again. We make the music to fill the gaps, like holes in our DNA, to make ourselves whole again. To believe us into reality, the Star Child said. I have a relic from our world that I need to show you. It will Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua de Loop. Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua de Loop. Psycho Alpha Disco Beta Bio Aqua de Loop. The chants seemed to come from all around them. The lights fluttered. Darkness took shape. Space folded in on itself. Silhouettes shuffled in the night. A thick wave of dry ice fog swallowed the dance floor, riding up George's legs and into his nostrils. A familiar smell, like citrus-scented disinfectant. Then a voice, like a wiggle in his ear, spoke. Citizens of the universe, we are here to reclaim the mothership.
Well, we're out of time.
Oh, yeah.
No, you're not out of time. Finish it up. No?
Go?
Go.
Go?
I say go.
They lie to you, George. You don't exist. You're nothing but a pack of baseball cards without gum. You're nothing. You're little more than a liner note dribble, ripped from the ravings of a fringe culture, transcribed while riding shotgun on a bad LSD trip. This isn't the real world. But you know that, don't you? You aren't some savior figure struggling to come to terms with your messianic consciousness. Look at you, George. You're a boy, not a man, having a bad, drug-induced dream. If your mother could see you now, you'd be the death of her, George. You know what's best for you, right? Get a 9 to 5. Get married. Consume. Obsess. Covet. Never question. Never wake up. Never wake up. Never wake up, Shakes! Hump your ass! Malia had him by the wrist, dragging him behind an overturned table across the floor. Through the fog all around him, he could see the trampled bodies, hear the screams. His fingers scrabbled over the floor to gain some sort of foothold. For leverage, his fingers only found discarded clothing, still warm, and the grains of sand that he knew had once been people. He felt sick, coming down off a bad trip. What's going on? Damn it! Malia leaned close, her breast heavy on his chest as she checked his eyes. Their gas is still affecting you. I hoped you'd be more immune to it. You're beautiful. Apparently not. Malia palmed a rod in each hand. With a flick of her wrist, they extended into batons. She caught him staring at them, for defense purposes only. Defending who? Shakes asked. Get up. We need you somewhere safe. The Star Child's using the artifact to hold them off. I don't know how they found us. They didn't. Think of your brothers, George. Of your sister. Think of what would become of them without you. Think of your home. Think of your hood. They're sending everything they got at us. A bad mamma jamma. Malia leapt into the fray, delivering a roundhouse kick that shook the roof off that mother. Then she battered him with their batons, twirling them with the ease of drumsticks. And that's Professor Bereft of Groove's lieutenant leading them. You must know they found you. He must know that. You still can have a future, George. There's something more out there for you. But you must stop this nonsense. Get back on board with the real thing, George. Get your head out of the stars and come back to Earth. You need to snap out of it, Shakes. We're doing this all for you. You're the real thing. The words are gone. Shakes stared at his hands, making sure he had the appropriate number of digits. They're coming out of your mouth. Funk you. They're not here. They're not here, I'm telling you. Shakes trembled. No, wait. I think someone's in my head. Then fight it. Unsteady at first, Shakes rose to his feet, letting Malia's voice pull him through the noise, through the smoke, through the screams of people rushing past. As thick and clunky suits of brightly colored armor chased them, the high squeal of a dozen thermals laughed at them, cutting them down with glee. One of the Afronauts stood there, his fiery pink and purple bop gun aimed towards Shakes' heart. He could sense a smile behind the obsidian orb, hear the cackle of laughter and the mocking tones of his voice. I'm transmitting ideas directly into your reality. Crooked and unoriginal. You fell into my grandest trap, prepared to become the greatest story ever untold. The muzzle of the bop gun flared, but then the Star Child was there. He leapt, waving an object that looked a lot like a flashlight. He screamed, he fell, but all Shakes knew after that was the light. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.